What better laboratory than the blood-soaked battlefield? A sister of battle, pious and unrelenting. Remind yourself that overconfidence surges as the enemy crumbles, glittering gold, trinkets and baubles. Reeling, prodigious size alone does not dissuade the strike blade.
Whoa, fella, did you just install 12 thematically compromising anime women mods to spice up gameplay? No disrespect. I gotcha. I know you've got encyclopedic knowledge of every big worm, trinket, and voice line in this game, and your hustle is great. I respect you. And this is a tight title. One of the greats. But why don't you expand your horizons a bit, you freaking knucklehead? We're living in
insert current year.
We have alternatives now. There are games out there with familiar mechanics, but also new and different challenges to master. You want spice? Steam's got an entire cabinet. If you're willing to peek at other games that scratch that same itch, take hold of my Cursor Mania ad and let's surf the web to the far-off year of 1944. WARSAW. So WARSAW is like Darkest Dungeon, but with survival mechanics, and it's World War II. And that's the one time I'm gonna say Darkest Dungeon in this video. I've heard comrades call games in this four guys standing next to each other genre copycats and clones, but that makes Chaz frown a bit. Making games that are familiar but also new and different still takes tons of effort, and comparisons like that feel kind of unfair to me. Warsaw's not perfect, but I feel like it can stand on its own. It has a lot of fresh ideas, fun mechanics, and a really neat concept, but it kinda got kicked under the rug. It doesn't even have a Gamepedia. That's how you know nobody's playing it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. And off my soapbox. What's with the windmill armbands? Did Chaz just shoot a dog? And what the heck is a Warsaw? Take a deep breath! I'm not a history buff, but this game really requires context, and hence, so too does this video. High school history class, Mia taught you something really important happened in the mid-40s, but if anyone hasn't heard of World War II yet, spoilers. 1933, a little Austrian guy and his friends now own Germany. Then Germany, Italy, and Japan all become BFFs. In 1939, Germany invades Poland. This is important. Then the entire planet gets into a scuffle with itself because Japan is mad at China, and France and England are mad at Germany, and Germany's mad at everyone, and also Italy's there. Germany steamrolls its neighbors like France and Belgium. It is getting very big and very scary. Japan and the US are now mad at each other. 1943, Italy stops being there, and the funny round guy who was in charge gets hung from piano wire. Summer 1944, the Warsaw Uprising happens. Very important, and that's where Warsaw starts us. A historical and highly educational game. Warsaw takes place during said summer of 1944, from the actual historical start of the Warsaw Uprising through to the end. You manage a sect of Poland's underground home army as they combat the German and Russian threats stomping all over the Polish capital of Warsaw. It's up to you to roll out a small group of 4 dudes standing next to each other and survive the unending fight against blonde men with funny pinwheels on their arms. Missions will have your army of 4 packed in supplies and marching through the real Polish streets of Chicago, Plinko, Markiplier, Vriska, Taiwan, Aleja Zygmunta Krasińskiego, War Fortress, Zagrebacka, and even Fortnite. You'll be searching for munitions, bumping into skill checks, and hopefully choosing your fights wisely. As an underprepared and undermanned militia of volunteers, the opposition will typically outnumber and outgun you. Remember, you're a resistance using last season's rifles and Grandma's revolver. You don't have, war trucks or masked death squads. Definitely don't have mortars in the budget. I don't even think dogs are native to Poland. Combat can usually be avoided as long as you stay out of the enemy's line of sight. Jesus! Gets me every time! Dodging combat saves you bullets and potential deaths, but your boy's gotta grind out those supplies and XP somehow. Also, combat's just fun. Bet you think 4 rows for 4 heroes is peak tactical strategy. Ready for this? 4 rows, 2 columns. Yep, the board has 8 spots on either side, and this opens up a whole world of possibilities. It ain't just about who can hit who standing where anymore. We're talking 3D checkers tactics, baby. For starters, 8 spaces for the other guy means you're going to be outnumbered a lot. Your 4 insurgents have breathing room, but the right side of the screen can be packed. More guys means they have more attacks, so you gotta shift the battle in your favor while starting at a disadvantage. 8 spaces also means there's more room to throw people, so Warsaw makes you pay even more attention to positioning. For one, characters deal more damage to targets they are flanking. If you're not in the same column as the guy you shot at, you are flanking him, and deal a hefty extra dozen damage. I imagine this is supposed to represent catching a guy in the ribs from a window to his left or something, but it just kinda looks like you capped the dude standing on the airport treadmill next to yours. The cover system is also kinda tricky. Characters standing behind a pile of bricks or other detritus are practically unkillable. So See this guy? Until you wedge him out of cover, bullets mean nothing to him. Or you could also burn bullets trying to tear that garbage down. You don't need that precious ammo. Yes, combat is fun, but it can be costly, and Warsaw is a survival game. You gotta watch your supplies, tools, weapons, health, and your group's ammunition, because attacks cost ammunition. That's a thing. If you don't pack enough heavy ammo, your Piats turn into really cool barbells with no functional utility. Pack too much short-range ammo and you can spray as you please, but ammo takes up precious inventory space. You might not have room in your backpack for all the cool camouflage ponchos you find. The game's win conditions hold true to the actual historical event. The Resistance wins when you storm Mount Hitler 4 times and steal the blueprint for Benito Mussolini hidden within the vaults of... I'm totally kidding, the Resistance gets crushed after 63 days. Your goal? Survive until then. If your momentum hits 0, the city gets razed to the ground. Game over. Start from the top. If your Resistance can fight all the way to October 2nd, though, the city gets razed to the ground. Game over. Start from the top. Win or lose, you're booted back to the menu to start from square one, with only your Pokédex remembering your exploits. Kinda harsh, yeah? The game's a blast, but this format can feel kinda discouraging, and you really feel the pressure of that time limit. Not a minute to waste. The guys with the cool boots are slowly tearing down your city, and time moves in a forward direction, so you're kind of on the clock. At most, campaigns cap off at 7 hours each, so unfortunately, any gratifying progress you make is short-lived, and you can't spend hundreds of hours juicing up your team. Thanks to the 63-day runtime, at most you're working with 2 handfuls of weapons and items, your roster stays limited, and major losses can be impossible to bounce back from. If you lose an insurgent, they're gone, and you can't just pull a new one out of the basket. Reinforcements are rare. You're waiting a few weeks before the game hands you a replacement, so even one death can really screw you over. Medic got picked by a sniper? You lost. You want to take the gamble your next hero is going to be the only other healer in the game? How does Warsaw feel even more oppressive than a game about pitch black gothic basements of meat walls and face bongos? That doesn't count. I didn't say Darkest Dungeon. I disappoint myself. Whoa, almost forgot this was supposed to be an entertaining video about what I do like. I like the heroes. Warsaw has a diverse cast of 17 unique, customizable insurgents, and yes, I'm going in depth on all 17. If you're sick of other titles having only one consistent healer, Warsaw doesn't change that. Why do they all do this? Jadwiga is your first medic and your only medic most of the time. An AoE heal, a strong single target heal, solid support auras, and a sidearm, just in case. Perhaps most outstanding, however, is Jadwiga's ongoing care aura. When a buddy standing next to her gets shot, they also immediately get healed. Sometimes they even get healed more than the damage they took. Does that sound a little strong? Jadwiga is reliable, versatile, and should absolutely come on every mission regardless of her well-being. No time to rest. Put a band-aid on it. Get back out there. You're the home army's only medic. Go ahead. You read his name. You butcher it first. Krzysztof is the standard well-rounded rifleman of the cast. He's a hothead with lots of damage and a defensive kit, and he's good. He's real good. He can crack armor like it's one of those tiny snack crabs and clap back during the other guy's turn. And I think he's wild boring. His ability, hey, shoot these rocks, makes people shoot everything except you. His ability, hey, shoot my friends, puts Krzysz in counterattack mode. So ideally, he's a strong set it and forget it type who puts in work while you do nothing. But I prefer actually playing my games. Kazimierz. I'm trying, man. He's a lovable scumbag who slings coke and loves movies, which would impress me if that didn't describe half the people I work with. The scoundrel is flexible damage with flexible tricks up his sleeve. You can build him to stand anywhere, hit any position, stall the fight, play support, play damage, hold the front line, hold the back line, oh, he'll take any role. Truly, he was born to crawl sewers and dodge live explosives. His most expensive skill is a passive buff, and her name is Rowdy Fellow. She makes your attack slower, but each attack gains a random buff. She'll never tell you what exactly she gave you, but whatever it was, kill that guy in one shot. And that's the beauty of her.
Znalazłem magazynek.
You may not sound it, but Frenek is just a boy. He's not a great pistolero, absolutely not a great medic, but he's a fun support type thanks to his aptitude picking bullets off corpses. I also let him roll around in the highly volatile explosives crates. Just for funsies. He is my dedicated grade school grenade chucker and part-time bullet forager. Frenek is spry, Frenek is stupid, and Frenek is very, very small. As such, he likes to stand in the front lines and dodge every other shot aimed at him. He's okay. Kind of a weird hybrid, but he's a keeper. Especially if you burn through ammo like it's un-German literature at a college union meeting. Wanda is the home army's sapper. She's a baker turned demolitionist who specializes in busting armor and playing with cover. If you don't already have frontline protection, Wanda can nail together a 22-gallon metal drum for you to hide behind. Very helpful, but sabotage is where it's at. As a sapper, Wanda can blow up enemy cover and maim anyone dumb enough to use it strategically for protection. Few things are more satisfying than taking the unholy impenetrable shield that is 4 sandbags and turning them into a nuclear landmine. Now nobody is safe from my child with hand grenades. Janosch is a death camp survivor, which means I have to be very careful with the jokes. Tough as nails and powered solely by the faith his wife is still alive, Janosch is a tanky son of a gun. With ample upgrades, he can shrug off half the damage he takes. Nothing to sneeze at in a game where children get shelled to half health by rocket launchers. He's a backline tank, which is weird, but he also hits like a dump truck. Like, if the dump truck was missing a mirror and had kind of a lean on one tire, so he takes a bit of investment, but he's still a dump truck. This analogy fell apart. Martin was a Nazi. Pretty cool, eh? He's got a fat health pool, some impressive offense, and his background as a traitor shows in some pretty neat support skills. Martin knows the enemy's tactics and uses that to his advantage. His skill, comrades, lets him copy enemy buffs, and shared insight spreads them to his teammates. Keep an eye on that dog trainer. Teach your friends the same tricks. All in all, Martin is a meat shield with a kick, who's an impressive Polish army tactician for someone who can't speak Polish. Helena is equipped with the space-age device that is the telephone. She's an awful shot and takes some time to get going, but with enough XP, Helena's off the chain. For the low price of 10 crates of high-explosive warheads, the phone operator can summon a buddy with a rocket launcher. Fun stuff. Putting her skills as a learned switchboard operator to use, Helena can forage large surpluses of explosives after combat, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. This wall of meat is Marianne, a hulking mechanic with an even hulkinger health pool, and a freaking flamethrower. He's a charming, headstrong family man whose refrigerator-like physique lets him grill frankfurters from the front row. His offense is kinda slow burn, but his flamethrower doesn't miss, it swings wide, and it costs 0 ammo. A real working-class hero scares SS officers and heavy mortars into paralysis, and that's Marianne. Constanti. That was cool, that sounded super Polish. This cavalryman comes strapped with a saber, and yes, they have anti-air cannons and tanks, but you have a delusional, screaming, mentally unstable Pole with a sword. Constanti's shtick is standing up front and gutting the other side of the board with his shabla. His sword attacks are guaranteed to bleed, and if splitting Nazi arteries doesn't speak to you, maybe will. He's got a fun combo in there. Don't be fooled by this senile mummy. Officer Henryk Toporek is 100% potent utility. Alzheimer's has taken its toll on the old man, so Henryk has forgotten entirely how guns work, but what matters is he still knows how to point and shout, and until arthritis locks his fingers into plank mode, he will continue to point and shout, doggone it. His passive point and shout, superior command, gives your guys an extra activation. In a game where you're outnumbered, an extra attack can flip a fight on its head. Whoa! Did a mortar shell the size of a small child send your friends scattering like somebody picked up the rock they were under? Maintain formation. Never again will your sniper be in handshaking distance of Herr Bren Commando. Anna. 60% of the time she's busted, and the other 40% she's mildly overtuned. Anna can one-shot half the enemies in the game. When she isn't picking the board clean, she's either stun-locking the big guns or putting helmets on sticks. These are decoys, and they draw German gunfire pretty well. This is probably due to their IQ being lower than Anna's impressively sparing ammo usage. As with snipers in literally every other turn-based game, she's slow on the draw, but she's a nutty damage hero who's really strong for really cheap. I love her! Aww. Carol. But isn't Carol a woman's name? Carol is a slippery member of the Home Army's that. True to the actual guerrilla paratroopers he's based on, Stephen Stills is a cloak and dagger type trained in thumping a 40-pound rocket launcher. Covertly. His entire kit is passive, so a lot of times Carol is a juiced-up breathing machine for an SMG and one really good blast attack. He's quirky and eats ammo, but if you hate armor, you'll be happy to hear it is not a word in Carol's dictionary. Ernest. His abilities are ass. A lot of them involve blind at 15% accuracy. Malice. Blind is a joke. Throw any ability with blind in a garbage pail. 15% doesn't do anything. It's the combat equivalent of bumping your knee on a coffee table. Awareness is a cool skill, I guess. Ernest whips out a piece of paper and tells your snipers how to shoot people standing in new and different places. Or, if you're the gambling type, Kill Squad ups your team's crit chance, and that's a lot of fun. But truly the hottest part of Ernest's kit is his starting weapon, a drastically high-end cannon. A single burst from his machine gun could cut a man in half. Otherwise, I audibly sigh every time the game throws Ernest at me. What? I've never seen that letter before. Willadi Slaw. Willady Slaw.
What is suave?
I'm gonna settle on Vladislav. Vladislav is the only other healer in Warsaw, and he's a pacifistic coward who refuses to shoot guns. Vladislav's strongest and only weapon is his doctor purse, but what he lacks in offense, he makes up for with Polish tortoise formation. With the right positioning, Vlad can load his buddies full of painkillers, and his passive healing aura assures your teammates can't be killed. With the wrong positioning, Vladislav is just worse than Jadwiga. The medic with better damage and better survivability has objectively more versatile healing than the medic who can do nothing but pass out lollipops. Now that's balance. Vladislav's a pretty strong buffing and healing totem, but he works best in a kind of niche spot. But we'll take what we can. Poland is kind of strapped for medical professionals right now. Bronislav? Is that his name? Is that an actual name? Is this a fake name he gives during attendance for laughs? Jesus Christ. Bronislav is a serious tank. Machine gunning and suppression is nice, the guy's a crack shot, but even nicer than that is an infinitely stacking armor increase. Tack his other armor increase onto that, and Bronislav charges toward anti-tank guns like they're Fisher-Price playsets. He doesn't know what pain is. Jan. Took me 70 hours and 23 save scums to unlock. Now, I almost swore there wasn't a 17th character in this game and that the Watchman was a practical joke. I had to bleed in the name of RNG to even have the privilege to type this paragraph. Jan is a really cool character. He's a deaf-mute Watchman and gifted strategist who plays based on enemy positioning. Methodical makes enemies in the first row take more damage, then the second row, then the third row, then the fourth, cycling to the right at the start of every turn. That's kind of cool. Playing into Methodical and setting up for it makes me feel like a tactical genius, even though all I did was left-click an enemy back one square. Not only is Jan's hearing shot, but so are his pain receptors. Jan's got an above-average health pool on him, and his wounds close themselves at a disturbing speed. Hold fast refills his above-average health bar each turn just for standing in one place. I guess he was worth the time investment. His starting rifle packs a punch, he's practically immune to stuns because he's deaf, and his kit is wicked fun. And that's all 17 of them. And the cast really impressed me. Pixelated Milk really went out of their way to flesh each character out. Peep the codex and you'll see what I mean. The longer you spend with a hero on your roster, the more their bio page fills up and tells you about them. Backstory, attitude, flaws, cute little quirks. Heck, each character even has their own lore mission, unique weapon, and where are they now screen at the end of the campaign. What really caught me off guard about the cast was the voice talent though. I did not expect in this game. I do not speak Kielbasa, nor do I speak Bratwurst, so when it comes to the voice acting, I say Dankeschön, which is German for sounds good to me. Nitpick, but I wish they included subtitles. I'd really love to know what means, because I've been hearing it a lot. While I'm complaining, let me take the time to speed whine about other things that annoyed me. Bullet point 1, difficulty. I hope this doesn't sound like flexing, but I don't feel like Warsaw has that scathingly difficult bite at higher difficulties. I finished Warsaw on extreme difficulty several times. I'm not a big brain gamer though. Half my moves are either inefficient or brain dead, and this video is 20 minutes of both. I deserve to be punished for my mistakes, but if I pick up very particular healing skills, the difficulty goes from sadistic to sweet. With the proper forbidden techniques, Warsaw can be easy street, at least for me. Difficulty is subjective. Bullet point 2, insurgent acquisition is I mentioned it earlier, but if you want a new character in a run, you've got to wait until the designated delivery week. If someone dies, or if you're just bored of the roster you have, you can only pick up new recruits by waiting for the New Blood event. Every few weeks, New Blood will reward you with a fresh hero, but the dude you get is totally random. On one hand, this can be cool because it forces you to adapt your compositions and how you use your supplies accordingly, but it also bites when you get Earnest. Again, or when unlocking that last hero turns into a test of endurance because RNG is too scared to let you meet Jan. Like, yeah, reinforcements should be rare, and a survival game handing you exactly what you need should feel like a miracle. But there's a middle ground somewhere, right? And this kind of leads to my next complaint, bullet point 3. You don't stand to achieve much through gameplay. I don't think there's anything worthwhile to gain that doesn't require sheer chance. So without that incentive, I can see why people burn out on Warsaw sooner rather than later. But I wouldn't make a 20-minute video about a game if I didn't like it. Warsaw just scratches an itch, its combat especially. To me, Warsaw's combat is that familiar, streamlined, turn-based strategy with added levels of depth. Being pushed to work with the best you've got poses a neat challenge. It all forces you to adapt and shift your priorities based on each character you're given and the kits they've got. And the kits are clever. I spent like 10 minutes talking about heroes already, but each insurgent has such a laser focus on their own unique themes and mechanics. Nobody veers into anyone else's lane with their abilities. Getting creative with the heroes you're handed and figuring out neat synergies is gratifying, and that's why I have almost 100 hours in this game. On an aesthetic note, I really dig the way the game looks. Each character is expressive and drawn with their own unique silhouettes and attitudes, and I really appreciate that. The blood-spattered medics both cower when shot at, where a soldier like Martin grits his teeth and pushes through it. The aloof and efficient Silent Unseen stands with his back facing the camera and sprints forward when emptying his SMG. When Marian gets shot at, he scoffs and taunts his attacker. The war-tested rifleman aligns his feet with his shoulders and tucks the butt of his rifle into his shoulder when he shoots. The untrained phone operator shoots that same gun but squints down the sights and hoists herself against the weight of the rifle, and it's kickback. Dude, ring me up, I could talk about this all night. On top of that, I think the backgrounds are gorgeous. Mr. Van Gogh, it seems you've left a fine Aquarelo in this indie game. Visually, Warsaw has a kind of charming, characterful graphic novel feel to it, and Chaz likes it a lot. Translation's great too. I mean, I guess it had to be translated, right? What is this game? Polish? Oh yeah, Poland. No jokes, I don't know anything about Poland, but I'm glad the game encouraged me to read into a major historic event that was barely touched on in my history class. I think. It's been a few years. The Warsaw Uprising was a big deal, and the devs really drive home how much of a mark the operation left on generations of Poles. The atmosphere is so purposefully brutal and hopeless. The start of each day shows the capital's dwindling population. The overworld map is gradually torn apart by gunfire. The loading screen reminds that Warsaw's iconic Prudential building was shelled to its framework by the end of the uprising. I think that's the Prudential building, right? The game ain't a museum exhibit, but it gives you historical footnotes when it can. On the whole, I appreciate the angle. The Warsaw Uprising is a really unique setting for a World War II video game. Evidently, because I didn't even know it happened. So if you care for that kind of thing, go do some light reading. It's really something. And then you and I can both laugh at how confusing the Polish language is. And, this is gonna be an awkward transition. Tonight's top cutie. I know, I should have done this segment first. In a tragic upset, it's hands down Krzysztof. He's competing with trad wives and old men, and Chaz doesn't roll like that. And while Anna came close and Jan came closer, neither of them hold a candle to this sculpted Adonis. He's a man of action with a heart of gold, and it's no secret he'll respect you like the royalty you are. And although he means well, his short temper may often get the better of him. This is only made worse by his record-breaking 4 brain cells. Academically speaking, Krzysztof earns a B+ from your boy Chaz, the highest a himbo will ever score on this chart. This places him comfortably under Kana, the young man from... Comfortably under nobody. This is the first and only character I've ever put on this list, and he is a consenting adult. Warsaw's a lot of fun, but with a few caveats. The game can be kinda rigid, and you might get burned out on it faster than other titles. And frankly, I did have some major annoyances. I don't feel like that was tasteful, I'm sorry. Bottom line though, for me personally, it hits the spot. There's fun to be had, and the depth the game does have gives me reason to come back every now and again. Chaz thinks Warsaw's got serious flavor, and that, with a little more love, I'd be able to worship the parts of the game that aren't just the combat and characters. All in all, I give Warsaw 3 for each mustache in the game. +4 for each flat cap in the game. A total of 7. Not bad.